What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and if you're enjoying the content here on my channel, then make sure you hit the like button and make sure you hit subscribe so you can help decide what direction the content on my channel goes in the foreseeable future. Oh man, I gotta tell you guys, I was going through the Titans annual, and technically I'm kind of jumping the gun here a bit, just because of the fact that there is still, like, there's Made in Manhattan and that kind of thing. But for those of you guys who don't know, usually when it comes around to the point, usually when we hit the 1 year mark and we start cranking out annuals, what'll happen is publishers will say, like, if we have 12 months before an annual hits, or 11 months or 13, or however it is they choose to do it, and we have like a 6-issue story arc and a 5-issue story arc, well, that gives us 11 issues. So they say we have one more before we do an annual. They'll just usually do like a one-shot or something like that, something to just kind of fill the gaps to keep the publication going until we can get an annual, and then a new story arc will start up. But what this does, this is a huge moment in the story, I guess in the history of Donna Troy's character. The reason why is because her publication history is a nightmare, but we'll get to that here in a second. It's crazy, her publication history, like her origin, all that kind of stuff. But what this does is this initially picks up with Garth, or Aqualad, depending on what you want to call him, alongside like Wally West and Barry Allen, just appearing in a singular location. Not only that, we also get Aquaman Arthur Curry. And so what we basically have here are mentors and proteges. That's really what this is, mentors and proteges. Now, this is cool because this is what the Titans are founded on. Keep in mind, before they were Titans, they were Teen Titans. And originally the Teen Titans were basically just the sidekicks of DC's main line of superheroes. That's one of the reasons why fans love the Teen Titans so much, is because, well, if they couldn't be Aquaman, they could be the next best thing, which was basically Aquaman's mentor. It was like, DC publishing a line of superheroes aimed explicitly for kids. And the story sold well. There was one point where the Teen Titans were the highest selling team in comic books. And I mean taking everybody into account. Marvel's X-Men, Marvel's Avengers, DC's Justice League, Batman, the whole 9 yards. The Teen Titans were the highest selling comic book at the time because it was a comic book aimed at teenagers, dealing with teenage issues, gaining love, losing love, learning how to find their place in the world. I mean, just different things like that. These existential crises that teenagers go through. Who am I? Where am I going? What's my future like? Where did I come from? All these different things that kind of come together to make us who we are and send us in, forward into the world. But what we also have is Dick Grayson arriving on the scene. And so pretty quickly, we really get this understanding, at least from the way Dan Abnett's writing it, that we're basically going to be seeing a lot of these characters coming together. Now, of course, the immediate question here is what's going on? But there's also a bit of rivalry. Keep in mind that with the Titans, they looked up to the Justice League at one point as mentors, and they still do to a degree, but they've also stepped into their own. The Titans are really kind of their own superhero now. They're their own heroes. We've basically grown up, and that's what makes this cool, is because it's almost like an adult person challenging their parent. 25-year-old guy challenging his 40-year-old dad. I'm 25, I'm an adult, you can't tell me what to do anymore. That's basically what this is, and this comes to fruition when Aquaman immediately takes control and says, you guys do this, you guys do that. Well, of course, Aqualad, his immediate response is, who put you in charge? Now, the cool thing about this is Dan Abnett also pays special attention to the legacy of Dick Grayson. And this is why people love Dick Grayson so much, is because he's like the bright shining star in the DC universe, right? Like everybody, when Dick Grayson speaks, everybody listens. They may not necessarily agree with him, but they will all listen. The arguments will stop, the discussions will cease, Dick Grayson will say his piece, and then the things will continue on in whatever direction they end up going in. Maybe they'll follow Dick Grayson, maybe they won't. But of course, Dick Grayson's advice is, hey, look, Wally West, the Flash, or Wally West, Barry Allen, you're the two fastest people here. Scout the area out, see what you can see. Well, almost immediately after they take out, they come across Donna Troy and Wonder Woman. Now, right off the bat, the two of them are at odds with one another. I mean, Wonder Woman does not trust Donna Troy. Now, on the surface, this seems to be indicated by the fact that Wonder Woman's basically saying, I don't know who you are. I don't know if I can trust you. I suddenly just appear in this strange location, but then suddenly I see you. Now, what Dan Abnett seems to be doing is kind of feeding on the Wonder Woman origin of Donna Troy. And what I mean by that is Donna Troy has been a nightmare for DC Comics ever since her inception. I have a video where I talk about that, but we won't go super in depth. But the idea here is that originally Wonder Girl was just like Wonder Woman's Superboy. That's what it was. Superboy told the stories of Superman when he was a kid. Wonder Girl told the stories of Wonder Woman when she was a little girl. The problem with this was that Wonder Girl was just rolled over into the Teen Titans publications one day. And so what we got was presumably Wonder Woman as a little girl in the modern day. Well, then this raised continuity issues. How can Wonder Girl be Wonder Woman as a child in the modern day if time travel or nothing like that is invoked? And so what ended up happening is DC basically reworked the origin of Wonder Girl. And that's what's been happening time and time again. Her origin has just constantly been reworked. And in fact, you had characters like Cassie Sandsmark that would pop up and undertake the mantle of Wonder Girl. But with regards to Donna Troy, her origin has changed changed consistently over the years because of the fact that no one seems to be able to settle on what her origin needs to be. Now, more recently, the origin of Donna Troy fell into the idea that she was basically created to kill off Wonder Woman and take her place as Queen of Themyscira. Now, Titans Hunt came back and changed that a little bit. And the reason why I say that is because of the fact that when the New 52 was launched, there was no Titans. And that was a whole issue. Teen Titans was the original publication. Titans was spun off that saw the original Teen Titans forming their own team. And then that iteration of the Teen Titans became a different team. And so you had the two of them running in tandem. You had the original Teen Titans, who were now the Titans. You had the new Teen Titans, which were as a different group of people. Now, when the New 52 started, you had a rebooted Teen Titans, but the Titans didn't exist. There was no Donna Troy. There was none of that stuff was there. There was no Wally West, or at least the Wally West as we knew him. That wasn't there. And so fans were kind of outraged. Fans were kind of mad. We got Titans Hunt, which basically went back and said, okay, Donna Troy was part of the original Teen Titans. But the issue with this is that the origin with Donna Troy being part of the Teen Titans and the origin of Donna Troy in the Wonder Woman comics contradicted one another. And so it created even more continuity issues that made things wildly difficult. Now, that being said, the purpose of Rebirth is in a lot of ways to wipe the slate clean with different characters. Donna Troy being a perfect example, and we'll get to that here in a minute. But in the midst of these whole discussions, again, it creates some bumping of heads between these two different groups, because you got the Titans who are like, we're grown up, we're heroes, we know what we're doing, and the Justice League who are like, we're the originals, or at least what passes for the Justice League here. Barry Allen, Aquaman, and really Batman. That's really about it or I guess the Wonder Woman. That's really it in terms of like the Justice League. But they're like, look, we're the originals. You were mentored based off us. We still know what's best. Now, this is really DC sitting down and saying, hey, look guys, the Titans are their own superhero team. All right, the Titans are not the proteges. The Titans are their own heroes now. They're not sidekicks anymore. They are now grown up. They're their heroes. They're out in the world. They're driving. They're complaining about paying bills, and they're paying rent, and the place is just too damn expensive. The rent is too damn high. They are they are their own superheroes now. Now, the reason why this matters is because if you're a Titans fan, this is what you've been waiting for. I mean, unofficially, it's been stated for like years and years and years. Unofficially, you've known that. But there's a difference between knowing it and believing it's true and DC saying it is true. This is how it is. And so I feel like for Titans fans, this is vindication. I mean, they can't help but feel a little bit heartened over the idea that like, finally, man, like people are taking the Titans seriously. I mean, it's one of those things where it's just kind of something people have been waiting for. Now, of course, what we also get is the return of a villain named Key, who's basically the mastermind behind all this. Now, with this guy, the Key, being introduced into this story, DC's reaching back, man. They're reaching back to All-Star Comics in 1951, I think it's All-Star Comics, but they're reaching back to like the 1950s. The Key was really like this low-level villain, but he's a guy who's like a master chemist. He's really good with like developing components and machinery and different things like that, but we don't know why he's doing this. All we know is that there is a door somewhere that needs to be unlocked that somebody is behind. Now, who this person is, we don't know. Now, my idea here is it's probably not somebody like Dr. Manhattan. It's probably not even somebody like Blank or Blanche, whatever you want to call it, from the Superman comics. It's probably just some villain that we've seen before who's coming back, or some villain that we've never seen before. We don't really know who it is. Now, I'm intrigued. I'm interested to find out who it is, but we don't know who that guy is. But what we do know is that in order for this person to be released, in order for enough energy to be built up that this door can be opened, the various heroes have to fight one another. And so because of this, what ends up happening here is it basically allows, the members of the Justice League and the Titans to come together, but for Batman to also take control. Now, that's the funny thing about this is because when Batman steps in, he was like, okay, here's what we're doing. The discussion is now over. Your arguments are now done. Everybody is going to do what I tell them to. And we expect that, right? I mean, Dan Abnett plays it fast and loose because we expect him to. When Dan Abnett comes along and he was like, hey guys, Batman's here, then it's like, okay, well, I guess Batman's running the show now. And even then, like Barry Allen and Wally West comment on that. Barry's like, hey, look, when Batman comes into the room, the discussion's over, man. It's always been that way. But it also makes sense because he's the smartest out of all of them. So it makes sense if you were going to have somebody come in and say, okay, I am now in control, it would be Batman. And so because of this, we kind of get this continued rift between Wonder Woman and Donna Troy, but we also end up seeing the intelligence and the detective work of Dick Grayson. And the reason why is because he says, look, we've been brought here deliberately. He says, we've been brought here for the sole purpose of fighting. The reason he knows that is because Wonder Woman's lasso of truth is gone. And no one noticed that until Dick Grayson said it. And that's one of the cool things. That's why I like his characters, because in this story, everybody gets their own little moment. The greatness of, or I guess the aspect of each of these individual heroes that makes them great gets highlighted. And so that's one of the cool things about annuals, is because annuals are basically one-shots, they're one-offs. You don't really have, I mean, you can to a degree, they'll start a story, but it's not usually like you have a story called, you know, the Rob Corps is the most amazing group ever, and it starts with annual number 1 and then goes into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Usually annuals are either a prelude or they're a one-shot. But again, we also get this really cool scene where they're basically trying to break out, they're trying to figure out what's going on, but what the key basically does while he's observing this is says, look, in order for this door to be opened, they have to be fighting. And so what we need is for them to face off against a common enemy. And this is when the key's abilities as a, not really an inventor so much as a replicator, begin to come into play when he basically brings in Metallo. He also starts bringing in parademons, different things like that, and they all start facing off against him. I mean, the Justice League and the Teen Titans are able to work together well enough. They can face off against them all, and there's really not a whole lot, you know, of exposition here. They're really able to kind of save the day. But what we also end up finding out here is that these different rooms, you know, as they've been constructed, as Wally West and Barry Allen have explored them, have been designed in such a way that they're basically made to neutralize the powers of people, meaning they're allowed to use their abilities, but their abilities can't necessarily override the function of the room. As an example, there's telepathic blocking, and so the other Justice League members, especially someone like Omen, can't use her telepathy to find out where they are. The walls have been constructed in such a way that the Flash, they can't simply vibrate through them, and the entire structure is super strong, so, you know, Wonder Woman and Aquaman can't punch through it. And so it's really just the circumstance where they have to work together and put their brains to task and use each other's abilities in order to get themselves out. Now, at this point, the cool thing is that it's really just a matter of kind of exploring the area, facing off against these different forces. But the funny thing is that it's also Batman's moment, and this is actually really small here, but it's one of the things that I really dig about this. Dan Abnett is kind of interesting when it comes to writing comics because he's hit and miss, but in this one, he's really, really, really good. And the reason why I say that is because we get this natural kind of paranoia based on how things currently exist, as well as Batman being intelligent. What I mean by that is, with regards to DC, following the reboot of the New 52 in 2011, with Titans Rebirth, this is the first time we see the reformation of the Titans team. This is the first time they've actually operated together as a team. Not only that, the pre-Flashpoint Wally West is just suddenly here. No one really trusts him. It's just him showing up, making claims about some guy, you know, who has the ability to wipe 10 years from everybody's memories and stuff like that, and basically just kind of mess around with the timeline. Well, he can't prove it. All he could do was show up to Batman, point at a button, and say, see, that's an indication. And even Batman's a little skeptical about it, but no one really can take, or they can look at evidence to verify Wally West's claims. Because of this, because of the fact that the Titans are like, look, we're a close-knit group, it puts them at odds with the Justice League. And the reason why is because of the fact that the Titans' entire concept is built on trust. As far as Dick Grayson knows, as far as Wally West knows, Donna Troy, they've been a team. They remember each other. They've been an intricate part of each other's lives, but they can't prove this to the Justice League. The Justice League just has to kind of take their word for it. But from the stance of the Justice League, suddenly we have, you know, Dick Grayson saying, hey, look, you know, we as the Titans have been together. You know, we've been a team for quite some time. Donna Troy comes along, yeah, you know, we've been a team. The pre-Flashpoint Wally West just seemingly pops out of nowhere and says, yeah, I was part of this team. And so because of the Justice League doesn't really know if they can trust them. And so you guys are kind of seeing how they're bumping heads, how this issue of trust is really kind of coming to a head with regards to how each team views the other. But then we have Batman behind the scenes kind of standing in the background investigating things, taking one of the goggles off these parademons and saying, hey, look, these things are designed to sense organic material, to sense, you know, basically biological signals, and it's Batman just doing his detective work. And that's what's cool, is because while everybody's arguing, Batman's solving the problem, and that's the nature of his character. Even if Batman is in the middle of fighting just like everybody else, he's doing multiple things at once. He's figuring a solution to the problem. This is just a circumstance where he's just not partaking in all the bickering that's going on. But what he does is he basically uses the goggles of the parademon and more or less creates a scanner. I mean, using, you know, it's Batman tools, whatever. Batman can do anything he wants to at any particular point in time. Batman fans will tell you that. But Batman basically just kind of like rigs up a scanner and then starts going through and analyzing people and saying, there's 8 people here, but there's only 7 organic signatures. The one person who's not organic is Donna Troy. Now, this is where this kind of retcon seems to come into play. Now, I'll be honest here, as tight-knit as DC Rebirth is in terms of how the stories are being published, the significance of continuity, I mean, DC's really going like the Valiant Comics route with continuity. Like, we're playing it close to the vest. Like, everything is in continuity, everything is tight-knit. It has to be. This is classic. This is a hallmark of Jeff Johns in terms of his writing style. This seems to be DC going with the origin story that Donna Troy is not human. she's not organic. She's not a normal human being. She thinks she is, but she's not. Now, they're also kind of delving into this bit of a Wonder Woman origin and essentially saying that Donna Troy was created for the purpose of usurping Wonder Woman, of basically taking her out, of killing her and taking her place. The efforts of Donna Troy were defeated, and then she was given false memories and allowed to go forward as a normal human being. Now, the reason why this is significant is because what this does is it brings the world of Donna Troy crashing down around her, but it also sets the stage for DC to come along and say, now here is a 4 or 5 or 3 or 6 issue miniseries on the origin of Donna Troy. Here is the tried and true origin of her character for the future until presumably in some 5 or 6 or 7 years when somebody changes something or something like that. But it basically sets the stage for DC to give Donna Troy presumably her own mini-series that explores all these different things, explores these aspects, or maybe even just roll them over into the Titans book and bolster the team's connection to one another by going on this sort of journey where they figure out what Donna Troy's life is really all about. Now, what Wonder Woman also says is she held these things close. She didn't reveal this to Donna Troy because she didn't want to destroy her world, but because of everything that's going on, Wonder Woman offers this explanation, and again, it brings Donna Troy's world crashing down around her. Now, because of the emotional outburst that comes from this, because of the fact that Donna Troy feels such a significant loss and such a significant level of confusion, while her friends race to comfort her, 2 things happen. The first is that this emotional outburst, this energy that's being released, allows for this, really for Key to kind of push things a bit further in order to allow that door to be unlocked. But it also allows Lilith, allows Omen to telepathically get a brief connection to Donna Troy. It's not huge, it's not major, it doesn't reestablish things, but it's almost like shooting up a flare. And so because of this, Omen now knows exactly where Donna Troy and the other members of the Justice League and the Titans are located. And so what this does is it wraps up pretty fast. And that's kind of the cool thing about this, is that it all wraps up pretty quick because this annual is not designed to answer all the questions. It's designed to give us more questions. It's designed to give us a reason to continue reading the Titans comic. And that's what I like about this, is because it gives us just enough to give us a story, but it also lays the groundwork for the future of what we can expect to see in the Titans publications. And so using a scanner, Batman basically figures out where it is that Key's located. They race off to him. Superman and Lilith and Cyborg and the Green Lanterns and Arsenal, they all show up, and they basically all just kind of, get ready to challenge Key, and then Key just basically bails out. He just takes off. And so back at the Titans Tower is basically, again, the stage being set for, Donna Troy to kind of go on this soul-searching quest to figure out what she's about or whatever the case may be. But it's also this idea that whoever this being is that was behind this door has essentially killed Key, or at least presumably has killed Key. Now, again, we don't know who this guy is. We don't know what he's about. We don't even know if it's a guy. It could be a woman. It could just be some weird alien thing. We have no clue what's going on here. But what it does do is kind of egg us on a bit. And it says, hey, look, if you guys want to know what happens next, continue reading the Titans book. But again, I just want to kind of bring this to you guys because I thought it was a really great exploration into how the Titans and the Justice League view one another, as well as the fact that we get this pretty huge revelation with Donna Troy. But if you guys are new here to Comics Explained, make sure you guys hit the sub button to become part of the Rob Corps. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you drop a like, and I will catch you guys later. Peace.